Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful Wednesday here in London, and welcome on board to another webinar. Um, please come in, take a seat, um, and please just say hello to us in the chat box and tell us where you're coming from. We'll do this in about a minute or two, just so we all get comfortable and get to know each other, and then we'll kick things off. I've already started. My name is Khomotso, and I'm joining you from London. I was just saying to Lisa earlier, it is glorious here today. And so I'm waiting for somebody hi, Scholar from Tanzania. What's it like there? Is it cold? Sorry to rub it in. It doesn't usually get warm in London, and so when it does, I feel like we have to tell everybody about that. So thank you for joining us from Tanzania. Hello, Steph from Cape Town. Bon dia, Hector. It's warm. Oh, nice. Hello, Jenna from South Africa. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's freezing in Kenya. Sorry, Savi. Sorry. Hi, Bettina from Germany. I love that we've all from everywhere. Hello, Divine Jeep. I hope I say that correctly. Also from sunny London, lovely. Hello, Justine from Germany. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining. Hello, Jonathan, also from London. Hello, Edina from Kenya. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Dimpo from Lesotho. How's Lesotho? I'm sure it's so cold there in the mountains. Also, just thank you for joining us. Hello, Disetso from South Africa. Lovely to have you all on board. We'll give it a few more seconds. Um, if you've just joined us, welcome onto our Wednesday webinar. The chat box is open. Lara from Johannesburg. Sagar, I hope I said that properly, from London. Thank you, everybody. In the interest of time, please feel free to still say hello in the chat box. That's still open. We're going to kick things off today, everybody. I'm excited to take you on. I'm excited that this webinar is going to take you on a virtual journey to the Masai Mara from Naibor camps, we're going to just get updates on what's been happening in that part of the world. And on the call today, we have Lisa Sykes, who is the co-owner of Naibor Camps. She first came to Kenya 22 years ago and just fell in love with it. And so in 2015, Lisa and her husband moved to Kenya. And since moving, they've traveled extensively around Africa. She got bitten by the African bug. I mean, surprise, surprise. Um, her and her husband are the two directors at Naibor. Um, and she's just going to take us on a journey and give us an update on what's happening on that side. And everybody, after saying hello, if you've ever been to the Masai Mara, please also just tell us in the chat box. But for now, I hope you enjoy the webinar. The recordings of this webinar and the presentation that Lisa will be taking us through will be shared. And if you've got any questions, please also put them in the chat box or in the Q&A, and we will get to them at the end of the webinar. And without wasting any more time, Lisa, the virtual floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're well. I'm sitting here freezing in Nairobi. It's our winter here, but I assure you in the Mara, it's nice and warm. Nairobi is just particularly cold this time of the year. I just got back from the UK on Monday night, so I was able to enjoy a little bit of the warm weather that they had last week. And I hear you're having nice warm weather again, everyone in Europe. Okay, so my name is Lisa Sykes. I'm one of the directors and owners of Naibor Camp. And Naibor has been around for 20 years now. It was founded by Nigel Archer, the other owner of the camp, and it is located in the heart of the Masai Mara National Reserve. Now, before I take you into everything about Naibor, I'd love to give you a bit of background on what's been going on the past sort of year and a half with regards to the Masai Mara. And I know most of you will be aware that in January, a year ago in January, so January 2024, sort of overnight, they increased the park fees. 6 months of the year, it went from $70 to $100. And then the other 6 months of the year, sort of from July 1st to 31st of December, it went to $200. That's for anyone accessing the reserve. For those of us who are located in the heart of the reserve, most of us have had to pay, also had an additional community levy that has been added on, which takes it to $280 per person per night and $180 per person per night added on to our normal rates, which was very, very scary for us when that first came out. We had a lot of issues with people who had paid up front, paid 100% up front, and then we had to go back to them for more money, and it was quite difficult. But what I can tell you is that there was a lot more to the Greater Mara plan than just the increase in the park fees. There were new rules that were implemented, and some of the new rules were there are no new camps allowed to be built. There are no more self drives. So you cannot self drive a vehicle in the reserve. There are no more sort of the minibuses, those little white buses that you see in the news allowed anymore. Every vehicle in the reserve has to be a proper four-wheel drive vehicle. Also changed was the rules that everyone who is located outside of the reserve, so any camp located outside the reserve, like those on the escarpment, have to be out by 6 p.m. And so what that has done, it's not just the increase in the park fees, it has transformed, and this is just my personal experience and what I'm the feedback from the camp, transformed the reserve. It has cut the traffic down by 50%. So we're really, really happy about this. And it started out that we weren't happy, but now we're actually really happy because literally 50% less people are in the park. And that's really, really, really important because as you might know, as you see where we're located, Naibor is located right in the heart of the Masai Mara National Reserve. And there's always been historically this tug of war between the conservancies and the reserve. The conservancies were saying, "Oh, come and stay with us. Don't go into the reserve. It's too busy. It's too crowded." And that's just not true anymore. It really, really has cleared out the reserve and made it much better viewing experiences for all of those staying in the reserve. And in the reserve is where you're going to get the migration. The migration doesn't go farther north than the reserve. So this is where you're going to get the migration if that's important to you. But year round, we have phenomenal viewing in the Mara. Okay, so we are located in the heart of the Masai Mara National Reserve, right on a bend in the Talek River, as you can see there, where the Talek River meets the Mara River. We are a classic East African tented camp. We have 7 tents in our main area, 2 family suites that we call Little Naibor, and a little wilderness camp off to the side. And every tent is along the river. The main areas face a hippo pool. So I'm just going to show you this little aerial view of the drawing that I just showed you before. We've been around for 20 years, so we're really, really well tucked into the bushes. So the trees, located along the riverine forest on the river. We don't really need to have any barriers in between our tents because it's all natural barriers that have grown up over the years. So we've tried to keep our style classical. We have a very, very low environmental footprint. If we were to pick up and go after having been here 20 years, within 3 months, you'd never even know we were there. We tried to keep it that classic style, blending in with nature where possible. So our main areas are facing the hippo pool. Guests love to come and sit on these big comfy sofas that we have outside of the main areas and watch the hippos. I go to camp very, very often, every other month, maybe, if not more, depending. I love to just sit at my desk, sort of in the corner. No one knows who I am. And I love to watch. I love to listen. That's where I've gotten some of my best feedback. It's just from listening to guests sitting on these big sofas, and watching the hippos. And I love watching the transformation of when they start sitting there, because the main areas are where we have our Starlink Wi-Fi. So they might come there to go on Instagram or check emails. And I love watching the transformation. And when they go and they sit and they start looking on their phones and then watching them, after a while, put the phones down to sort of just sit and watch the hippos because the hippos are there playing and just being silly. And the guests can just sit for hours there watching the hippos from our common areas. Some of the decor in our camp. So we've got a sundowner bar. We built the sundowner bar just after COVID because we had a lot of requests for yoga retreats. And then so we decided to extend the deck and have this sundowner deck. However, after we built the deck, we never ever had a request for a yoga retreat again, but we've turned it into a sundowner bar, and it also doubles as a breakfast bar. Now, because our rates are really affordable in terms of safari, we have a lot of guests that stay more than 3 or 4 nights. They might stay 5, 6, or 7 nights, and they don't always go on a game drive in the evening if they're staying for long term. So we will set this up that if guests aren't going out for an evening game drive for the sundowners, it's also great when we have big multi-generational families or a celebration, and we can have this sort of area that they love to sit at and relax at. So dining at camp. So breakfast is either going to be on the deck in the morning on your last morning, or it's going to be a bush picnic out in the bush. Lunch is served down by the river, and that is buffet style. It is not communal dining. I just happen to have a picture of a long table there, but lunch is buffet style. One of the third owner of the camp is also the owner of the Talisman restaurant in Nairobi, which if you're familiar with Nairobi, you know it's one of the most famous restaurants in Nairobi. So all of our chefs are trained by the Talisman chefs. So we're very, very well known for how good our food is at Naibor. And it's fresh and wholesome, and we can cater to any dietary requirement. Dinner is served in our dining areas up top, and is three-course plated under our dining tent. Now, I recently had to add these lights, and you see there, all of our dining is by candlelight in the evenings, and it's really, really beautiful. But we have had some older guests who said they couldn't see their food, so we have added some lights to the dining areas so they can be turned on request if you just want to have better visuals of your food. I've never had a problem seeing my food under candlelight, but it is quite magical at night. Again, we don't do communal dining. I just happen to have a picture of a big table here. I love to see people in different areas all along the decking and there's the dining tent is made of lots of different rooms. And so everyone has their sort of own space for dinner. And it's really, really lovely and magical in the evenings. This is a picture taken from my iPhone, actually, of our sundowner deck, and you can see why we decided to turn the non-yoga deck into a sundowner deck, because we get the most amazing sunsets from camp. So we're fully solar powered. Everything is lit in the evenings by candlelight and lanterns, and it's really, really magical. We have the traditional fire pit. All the camps have a fire pit, but what makes ours even more special is that Lillian, our masseuse, comes down on your first night and gives everybody a 10-minute neck and shoulder massage. And all of our guests love it. They love sitting there with a gin and tonic in hand, having a lovely 10-minute neck and shoulder massage. And it's Lillian's clever way of letting everyone know that she's here and to come and use her. And she really is an excellent masseuse, but that makes our fire pit a little bit more special. Okay, so in our main section of camp, we have 5 doubles and 2 twins. Our style, like I said, is out of Africa, sort of that beautiful khaki canvas colored tents and proper tents. So I know a lot of camps will say, oh, we're tented, but they have glass doors or they have walls. We are a proper tented camp, but with all the luxury that you would expect to have in our level of style of camp and accommodation. Everything in the rooms has been designed by organically through me staying there. So I stay in every single tent at least once a quarter. I do not trust anyone else to maintain the standard. So I make sure that everything is at the highest level by staying in every tent every quarter. And not only do I stay in every tent, I sleep on each side of the bed. So I ensure that everyone has the same comfort level. And I think that's the only way you can really keep standards high, is by testing everything out yourself and by actually just using them and staying and making sure everything is working. So we have 5 doubles and 2 twins. All of our rooms have two wardrobes, so you have plenty of space to hang all of your items. We've got desks with mirrors and lighting. In our bathrooms, we've got running water in the taps. We've got proper flushing loos. We do have bucket showers. They are the largest in the industry. They are 40 liters, and they will run for 12 minutes without toggling it on and off. And you can always have another shower if you need one, but I do feel 12 minutes is sufficient. And it makes us super sustainable, because you can't say you're sustainable and have running water in the Mara, because water is a scarce resource. Okay, so with our tents, as I said, we've got 5 doubles and 2 twins. All of our twins can be combined. We have special conversion kits that we have made to make them seamless conversion. All of our rooms can take a 3rd bed in them to make it a triple, or to have additional child in the room. Just scene of one of our tents at night. Okay. And we've got our little Naibor family suites. So we have 2 of these. Now, in front of each of our little Naibor suites, there's a beach that has its own fire pit, chairs. There's a veranda out front. Each room is a twin room, a living room, and then a double room. And each has its own independent bathroom. So this is perfect, not only for families, but for multi-generational families with older children. It's for couples traveling together. You can have 4 friends traveling together. The twin beds can be combined to make a double bed, to make 2 doubles. We can add a 3rd bed into the twin room to make that a triple, which is perfect if you're traveling with 3 teenagers. I know finding space for larger families is quite difficult. Our twin beds are 4 foot wide. So when combined, that actually makes sort of an 8 foot wide emperor, I think Americans would say, size bed. So if you had 4 toddlers, you can stick all 4 toddlers in that 8 foot wide bed if you want to. So we really, really are flexible in terms of accommodation, how many people we can accommodate for larger families in Little Naibor. So when you book with Little Naibor, you get a dedicated exclusive use vehicle. You can do all your dining in the tent if you choose. Most people don't. Most people like to do their dining in the main areas. But for instance, if you had young children and you wanted to put them to bed early, you can give them dinner early on the veranda, put them to bed, and then we can have an Ascari sit outside the tent while the parents go and dine in the main area. Or if the parents don't feel comfortable with leaving the children, parents can then have their dinner later on after on the veranda. They can sit by the campfire, have their room steward bring them drinks, and have the same experience as everyone else without leaving the tent, without leaving the children and feeling uncomfortable. With regards to children, we do not have a minimum age. What I do like to tell everyone is please know your clients and speak to your clients and tell them, you know, it will not be a fun experience for you if your children cannot sit still and cannot behave in a safari vehicle. For instance, my children, my son's almost 18 and he's been going on safari since he was 3, and he was never a problem. I never ever would have taken my 2 nephews on safari. They would have been a nightmare. So you just need to know have your clients know their own children and know what the experience would be like for them when deciding if they should go on safari or not. Just another picture of little Naibor. Okay, so then we have our little wilderness camp, which is a separate camp off to the side, about, I would say, 400 yards away from the main camp. Um, Wilderness has just been had a complete refurb. This is the new mess tent. It's got beautiful seating area, dining area. It's got its own bar, outdoor fire pit, and dining areas. It can be taken exclusive use. It can be taken as part of the main camp. It can be taken, booked individually 2 by 2 by 2. It has many it's very versatile. Naibor Wilderness consists of 3 tents. Three can either be 3 doubles or 3 twins, and we can add an extra bed in as well. Oops. Here's one of the tents at Naibor Wilderness. So Naibor Wilderness was supposed to be originally, when we first started the camp, as a more rustic entry level product. However, when I became an owner, I just couldn't. It was too rustic for me, and I couldn't sit and look everyone straight in the eye with the product that we were offering. So we've given it a complete upgrade, and it's just the same level as in terms of decor and comfort level as the main camp. But we have kept it as a slightly lower price point, just because historically it always has been. So we have kept that slightly lower price point for the wilderness camp. So activities, we have our spa, we have our brand new gym, which is really exciting. That opened up in November, and it's really been well received. It's a complete, proper bush gym. I don't know if anyone's ever been on a manual treadmill before, but it's quite fun to try that. Um, and we've got lots of weights and bands and mats and kettlebells and things, and you can take those back to your room if you'd like, or you can just use them in our little bush gym. So game drives. All of our vehicles are 6-seaters. There is a 7th seat in the back, but I wouldn't, that's not for an adult. That's for maybe a child. Like my daughter used to always lay on the back seat when she'd go on safari and always fall asleep in safari vehicles. But all of our vehicles, they have power at every seat, so there's no fighting over charging iPhones or iPads or anything like that. They also have refrigerators in every vehicle, so you're always going to have cold drinks. And we also have special arms that we can attach to stabilize heavy camera lenses to the vehicles. Those are available on request. Our bush picnics, we've completely revamped the entire bush picnic experience, really elevated it to the next level. So we love, this is what basically your breakfast would look like every day out in the bush. It's amazing what our chefs have come up with that can come out of a picnic basket. And I love surprising guests because I don't expect to have such a beautiful breakfast when they're having their breakfast out in the bush. Sundowners, we love doing sundowners. So sundowners is either going to be a full camp experience or something individual off the back of a vehicle. Again, we just completely overhauled our sundowner experience. There currently is a trainer at camp right now, just giving a refresher training course to all the guides and all the staff on the setups and everything, getting ready for the full force of high season starting pretty much this week. So all of our guides have the ability to make the most beautiful setup, even if it's just for 2 people in the back of the vehicle with chairs and tables and tablecloths and chopping boards to chop lemon for a gin and tonic. But most guests just say, "Oh, don't worry, leave those chairs in the car and just give me a tusk or a glass of wine off the back of the vehicle." It's up to the guests to say what they'd like to have, but we have the ability to make it beautiful, and every guide is ready to go if that's what they can feel the guests would like to have. We're 40 minutes away from the nearest hot air balloon liftoff site. We mainly use hot air, and that's really great because you have to be up very early to go on a hot air balloon ride. So in the reserve, you cannot do a proper bushwalk. It's just not allowed. However, if you saw in that, if you remember looking in the aerial photo I showed you, we are completely forested, and in our huge 40-hectare property, you know, and anyone who's like interested in birds or the smaller creatures can be very, very happy. It's great for children. Joel, who's in the picture here, he loves taking guests out, and it can keep birders happy for over 2 hours just within our own property. And so the bird and nature walks on our property are fantastic. Just looking at animal dung or the little species on the grounds, tracking footprints. It's actually a really great experience. But if you have a guest that are really interested in a proper bushwalk, we have an agreement with a neighboring conservancy for a small extra charge just to pay for an armed ranger. You can go out and we make a half day experience of it with a picnic breakfast, and you can go out and have a bushwalk in that neighboring conservancy. It's about a 40-minute drive away from camp. Children's activities, as I said, I've been taking my children on safari since they were tiny. We've got everything that anyone would need to keep children happy. They make bows and arrows. We do love doing cultural visits, which is not just for children, but children do particularly love the cultural visits and having Masai jumping competitions, and just interacting with the Maasai and seeing where they're from. In the high season, we bring in ladies who do beading, and they can bead when they're at camp. We also, children love to learn to make fire. So all the children's activities that we need to keep children happy, we have at camp. And that is pretty much it from what I have to go through. We can, if there's any questions, please let me know.
Gosh, thank you, Lisa. That was beautiful. Naibor looks absolutely breathtaking. I love that you've done a refurbishment. I particularly liked that even though you have Wi-Fi, that and guests often go to sit there and connect to the Wi-Fi. More often than not, they disconnect and just
Yeah.
enjoy the view with the hippos. I love that because I
Yeah.
feel like
I
sometimes when
think
you're in
it's
the
really
bush, you need to be in the bush. Yeah.
It's really important. What I didn't say before was that, we are one of the only owner run and managed camps left in the Mara. Most of the other smaller camps like us have sadly been bought by these big groups now. And I think that one of the things I'd love everyone to take away from this experience is when you book with Naibor, you're getting, a camp that the owners are highly involved in. I am there all the time. And when I'm not there, today I probably had 25 messages already with camp. I'm in Nairobi today. I'm managing everything from Nairobi, and I'm mainly there. And you get that sort of more personal touch and experience, and that's for me what I think is one of the biggest takeaways from Naibor is that we are this small family-run camp with that touch and personal detail, which I think is important and lacking.
Amazing. Okay. There were a few questions, so we'll get right into
Great.
it. Thank you for your patience, everybody. How are you impacted with larger rainfall, especially last year with load flooding? Like, yeah.
Okay, so last year with the flooding, we were very lucky. The founder, our business partner Nigel Archer, who founded the camp, his grandfather has been using the site where Naibor actually is that was where he would go camping when he was doing safaris sort of almost 100 years ago. So we know that our site was a great site. Most of the camps that got washed away were all new camps, and they were in new sites that were prone to flooding. So we have not been affected. I mean, the rains haven't been great right now. It's still actually raining sort of every once in a while, but we were not affected at all by the flooding. Like I said, we've been using the spot that we're in for over 100 years. So pretty
Okay.
confident it won't flood.
Oh, great. You mentioned earlier that all your game drive vehicles are six-seaters, but there's a question about
Yes.
how many guests per, can you do full capacity 6 people, or how many guests per game viewing vehicle?
Well, what do you mean? Like in what sense? So you would have six, you could fit seven in there. We could put the picnic stuff because the front seat is where we put the picnic baskets and stuff, but we could put that somewhere else and you can have a seventh person in there, but they're genuinely
Okay.
six people.
Okay, but I do remember you mentioning that the vehicles are six-seaters, but there was
Yes.
also a question around that. And there was a follow-up on the six-seater, and what is the best time to visit, do you think?
To go on safari.
Mhm.
Okay, so the best time to go on safari, I would say, so it depends on what you want. If you're not bothered by the migration, obviously the migration, everyone knows that's starting now up until probably, I would say, beginning of October. Um, I think the best time in terms of with the park fees, I think the best time to go on safari is sort of January, February, March, because you've got the low season park fees, you've got our low season rates, and then also June. June is a really, really great time to come because the schools are still in session. So if you're not restricted by school holidays, it's a really, really great time to come because it's not school holidays, so it's quieter. Everyone sort of seems to think July is the high season. It's our low season rates and it's a low season park fees. And one thing I will say is we have the shortest high season rates in the industry. So our high season is very short. It's the 15th of July to the 15th of September, and then 3 weeks over Christmas. So just under 3 months of high season, and then the rest of the year is low season. I don't play around with a shoulder or a mid. It's just 2 seasons, high and low, essentially 9 months low, 3 months high. And we've done that to try and take the sting out of the increase in the park fees to really help people be able to still afford safari. And in our low season, again, which is 9 months of the year, we do a 4 for 3 special offer, which is really, so that's why I'm saying January, February, March. November is also an amazing time to come on safari because the grass is short, because the animals have, all the migration has been through eating it. So you can see all the cats and the animals, but it is still the high season in terms of park fees, but not in terms of our rates. So November is a great time, but then January, February, March, and June are also great times to come.
Okay, great. I hope you all marking your calendars. There was a question about the removal of the yoga retreat, which you've addressed, but there wasn't a
No, I
follow-up
mean, like
about,
we said, we would love to host a yoga retreat, but it was just quite
oh,
funny that we got lots of requests for it. And then as soon as we built the deck that could accommodate it, we never had another request. So it still is
um,
available. We can make it have a yoga retreat.
and so with the yoga, with the space available, are you finding that guests are now using the in-room training? Are they taking the gym equipment back to the room, or are they still happy to come to the gym and work out
No,
in
that
the purposeful gym,
Yes, I
purpose-built
think
gym?
most people love that space because it just looks out into this beautiful, sort of the beautiful savannah. And I didn't get a picture, and I'm not going to Photoshop one in of an animal sort of crossing by, but a lot of times you'll see giraffes and elephants crossing right in front of the gym. And I will maybe sit there one day and try and get a good photo of that, but I don't have one. But it's a lovely place, and the sun rises that way as well. So the tents are facing where the sun sets. And where the sunrise is where we face the gym. So people love to come there and do their yoga and that side. Yeah.
Amazing. Is the property fenced, Lisa?
It's not fenced. We are an authentic, immersive experience. It's not fenced at all. So in the evenings, you need to be walked back to your tent or to the dining area by an askari, but they're always there ready and waiting. So you come out of your tent and they're usually here, you unzip or you flash your torch and they will be there instantly to walk you.
Okay, great. About the bushwalk,
Yeah.
which conservatory do you take guests for the bushwalk?
It's a kind of a no man's land conservancy. It's not one of the ones that like the big named ones that you'd know of. It's kind of like one that's not sort of named that we have an agreement with where we can go and do the proper bushwalk.
Mhm.
It's right on the
Why?
border of the reserve.
Okay. Which airport is the easiest access point
Yeah.
for
So
Naibor
the
Park?
nearest one is Okiambo, which is 20 minutes if you don't stop to look at animals. Most guests on their way, the way in, it'll take a lot longer to get from the airstrip to the camp because they want to stop and see everything. But if you were just need to get there, it's 20 minutes and it's Okiambo.
Okay, great. About Little Naibor, can
Yes.
you book just one of the family rooms, or do you have to book it exclusively?
No, Little Naibor is not its own camp, and I'm trying to change it. So we've got a brand new website, and I tried to be more clear on the website about Little Naibor. So Little Naibor, I know we say Naibor Camp, so we're changing our logo to be more Naibor Masai Mara now because we are really just one camp. So Little Naibor is completely part of the main camp, and you would do all your activities and dining in the main areas with everyone else. You can just choose to have all your dining in the tent if you want, which we've had some people who really value privacy. We had a Saudi prince come and stay, and he didn't want anyone he didn't want to mingle with anyone, so he just stayed and had all his meals. We had his own sort of room steward. We put a bar in for him, and he has everything in little Naibor. But that is part of the main camp, so it doesn't need to be booked exclusively. You could
Mm.
just book the one suite. Absolutely, yeah. It's like a family of
Okay.
4 or 6 or something.
Oh, perfect. Okay, that answers that. Do you offer transfers from the airport to the property?
Absolutely, that's included in the price.
Okay,
Like our rates are inclusive of collection from the airstrip.
amazing. Okay. I think we got through all of the questions that we
So I just
had
want to say,
so
so we've
far.
got we've got a new website, and on the website there's an agent zone, and it's pretty much instant access. You do have to put your email in, but I made it so that way you didn't have to wait for a code or anything like that. You put it in your email and you log in and you'll get instant access to our agent zone, which has our special offers. It's got our fact sheet, it's got presentations, it's got links to these webinars for training other staff members. It has high-res photos that you can download and use for any material that you're putting together. And it's got, like I said, it's got live availability, which I think is good to have.
And STO rates, are they also available or can they request them directly from you?
They STO rates would be available on request, correct? Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Um, if that's everything. Um, I mean, I know I made a mental note of the low season,
Yes.
anytime before July and after September, but before November. So thank you very much. Everybody, if there are no more questions, I want to say thank you for joining us this Wednesday morning for this fantastic journey to naval camps in the Masai Mara. Yeah, I feel like getting on an airplane right now and coming over. But thank you so much for your time. Like I said at the beginning, this recording will be shared as well as the presentation that Lisa shared. Yes, Tracy, the recording will be shared as well as the presentation that Lisa shared with us this morning. Lisa, any closing words from you before
No, just
we say goodbye?
please, if you have any questions, just send me an email, lisa@naibor.com. Happy to answer any questions. And if you want to give any staff training, I do staff training for a lot of for a lot of people that other staff couldn't make these meetings or webinars. I'm happy to do training for small groups and stuff like that. Real easy. And yeah, just please check out our website. And yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you, everybody, and have a great Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.